we bring you the profile of our second murder victim, the murder of Michael Eugene Booker. Detective Dave Carson of the East Palo Alto Police Department is here to tell us of the circumstances surrounding Michael's death.
On September 22nd, 2008, at about 5:22 in the afternoon, police officers were dispatched to 137 Holland Street on a report of shots fired. Responding officers found the victim, Michael Eugene Booker, suffering from multiple gunshot wounds. Michael was later transported to the Stanford Hospital emergency room where he succumbed to his injuries shortly after 6 p.m. We've developed information that a unknown suspect approached Michael from behind riding a bicycle, stopped for some reason, fired multiple shots at Mr. Booker, then fled the scene. We're looking for any additional witnesses in this case that could help us bring some closure and actually solve this homicide. We ask that you come forward, assist us in helping this family.
Thank you, Detective. With us to talk about Michael Booker are his cousin, Barbara Jacobs, and his companion, Kathy Smith. Welcome to both of you, and thank you for joining us on this program. And I truly appreciate your willingness to speak out in the face of this tragedy. So I'll start with, well, either of you can answer this, but how did you, each of you, find out about Michael's death?
I found out
you are Barbara?
I'm Barbara Jacobs,
okay.
And I found out about approximately 10 minutes after. And that was a real hard jolt for me.
What, did you get a phone call or someone come to your house?
His mother called.
His mother called you, and what did she tell you?
She just said Michael had been shot. And so I immediately went around, but the hardest part for me and to understand was he was there at our house first. And, you know, we had our laughing and our talking and family just love going on there. And he had dinner and he was going to leave. And but there, you know, just the circumstance, a phone call, and he continued what he was doing, then he left, and then he went around to his mom's.
How soon after he was with you was he shot?
It's probably a good 12 minutes.
That's all? 12
Approximately
minutes.
12 minutes.
Kathy, how did you find out?
Well, I actually found out his brother called me. I was actually home cooking dinner, and his brother called me and told me that he had been shot. And so I immediately left. I met his brother at his mom's house, and we went to the hospital directly.
Right. So what was Michael like? What kind of a person was he?
Well, I think he was different with the two of us, but for me, he was very humorous. He had a good sense of humor. He was very loving. He was just an all-around, just a really good guy, you know. Little hot-tempered sometimes, but, you know, but outside of that, you know, we had a pretty good relationship, and it was a lot of fun. We just had a lot of fun together.
How about you?
Michael was always fun with us. He spent a lot of time with our family, so he was like our little brother. Not that he's that much younger than I, but we spent a lot of time together, and he had so many great skills.
Such as what?
He was a carpenter, and
really?
I mean, he was just so good at that job,
Really?
you know, and I always give him credit for being so good with that, and he
that right?
loved doing it.
Really?
Yeah, that was part of him.
I know we have some photographs of Michael, so perhaps when we show these photographs now, you could tell us maybe a little bit more about him now. There he is.
Well, this was actually the picture from the program at the funeral. It was actually a picture of he and I together.
Really?
And but this is from the program from the funeral.
And how old was Michael?
52.
Okay. Now.
And this was actually a picture he took of himself in the front yard
Is that right?
of his mother's house.
Let's see if there's another.
And this is a picture of he and I at his brother's house.
And was this a long time ago or fairly recent?
This would have been a couple months before.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. I think we have one more photo.
And this was a picture of he and I at at a park where me and my siblings, we had sort of like a little reunion of sorts, and we were all at a park together, and this was also a couple months before.
Wow, these are great photos. So how has Michael's murder affected each of you? Barbara, how has it affected you?
It's very hard because I think about his goodness, and as so everyone has some goodness, but I think about how he presented himself all the time, and it was always happy.
So this is a man who always had a smile on his face?
Always had a smile on his face,
and
always jovial. I mean, he comes in and he just talk and ask everybody how they're doing, and you know, you miss that type of personality all the time because you deal with so many negatives otherwise.
And
so.
he was not a negative person?
No, we didn't deal with the negatives that much.
How has this affected his mother?
I think she's still trying to deal with the fact that she was on the phone with him when it happened. So that part hasn't left yet.
So she's
talking
on
the
to
telephone
him,
with him,
and
which he's across the street from her house.
okay.
She's almost looking at him. And to hear it happening and then he says it happened, she's not through that part yet. And that, to me, that's probably the worst thing that anyone can do to another person anyway, is to take their life.
Somebody's life. Yeah.
And for her to try and get past that, I don't know what it's going to take, but we all have to work together to try and get through it.
Yeah, I don't know if anyone ever
Regardless.
gets past it, you know, particularly when your child is
Right.
killed, you know.
Right.
Kathy, how has this affected you?
Well, for me, it's been, I'm still trying to adjust to it. You know, I still don't believe that he's gone. You know, I keep thinking he's going to come home, he's going to come home, he's going to come home, but he's not coming home. And so I guess because there's no closure per se, that it makes it a little bit more difficult. So it's still a little difficult, but I have Barbara and her family. They're a great source of support for me. I have a couple of really good girlfriends that are a great source of support for me, and, you know, my sister. So it really helps that, you know, I have someone that I can talk to about it, and but it's still very difficult.
So nobody's come forward.
No.
So how do you all feel about that? I mean, can you understand why nobody's come forward? Or?
To a degree, you can understand why no one comes forward.
Why has no
because-
one come forward? What do you mean?
I just think it's because, you know, people have become complacent and they don't want to get involved in something that doesn't involve them or their family. And, but what people need to understand is that, you know, Michael was part of a family, and that, you know, the loss of him doesn't just end with him. I mean, you know, he has immediate family, he has a companion, he has cousins, he has friends that are all affected by his passing.
So Barbara, how do you feel about the fact that nobody's coming forward? I mean, does it upset you, or are you just kind of
Well, I'm
just
very
the way it
upset.
is?
I'm very upset when no one comes forward about anything that should be.
Do you understand why people
live
might be
correct.
afraid, though?
Most people are. They're afraid of retaliation.
So how do we
which
get
is-
people to come forward now?
Well,
That's why we're trying to get people to make the call.
be truthful
How do we do
to
this?
yourself. Be true to yourself first, and then your heart will open up to help others. And I think the best thing is anybody can do. That's why they call it a hotline. You don't have to tell your name. Call, give whatever information that's needed. I know a lot of times people feel that doing that, then later on they still might get something. Let the fear be gone and help protect lives. That's what we should be about in this world, period.
So I get the sense that if you all saw something happen, you would be willing to pick up the phone and call.
I do.
Yes.
Yeah,
I
mean,
do.
because I mean,
I'm
it's
very
important
protective.
that, you know, we all not just talk the talk, that we would
Right.
would do it and
Exactly.
actually come
Right.
forward.
Right.
And it really, in one way, it's a big thing to do it, but in a way, it's a small step to pick up the phone, like you said, and to call the hotline. Just
Right.
call it, right?
Right.
Are you satisfied with how the police have been working on this? And
I have the information that I received, because I'm not an immediate family, I don't get much
Right.
information, but what information I've received, they've been given the information to the family. So I believe that that's the proper way.
I mean, one of the things that is the case here, that the East Palo Alto Police Department is instrumental in putting this program together.
Yeah.
They make this happen. So clearly, this is like whatever can be done to try to find out who killed, you know, your family member and your companion. That, you know, we're trying to do. If you could say something to, well, you will. This is your opportunity to say something to anyone who's watching this, may have heard something, may know something. This is your opportunity now to talk to those people.
What I would like to say to anyone that might have information regarding this case is to please come forward, and I'm hoping that this program is actually going to touch someone's conscience and that they will pick up the phone and make that call because, as I said before, you know, it didn't end with his death. There are still those of us that are left here that are still trying to deal with it, and we're still affected by it greatly. And if they could just put themselves in our shoes and just understand how it is that we feel and what we must be going through, and we're just hoping that at least it will just, you know, touch a heartstring and at least give them the strength to make the call.
Yeah. And if you, Barbara, could talk also on behalf of Michael's mother. You know, what, if she were sitting here, what would she say?
She would actually just ask someone to make the call. She doesn't talk a lot, but she would ask someone to make that call. And in order to help, I'm going to go a little more personal for me, because I am an East Palo Alto resident and have been most of my life. And the things that I've recognized in our community is that the love for each other has fallen away. And we need to pull ourselves back together in order to show we are a community. Mm-hmm. Making that call, it helps everybody.
Absolutely.
It helps everybody.
Thank you.
We need that.
Thank you, Barbara. Thank you, Kathy. And thank you for having the courage to come on this program and to talk about this.
You're welcome. Thank you.
If any of you know anything about the murder of Aaron Dennis, murder of Michael Booker, please make the call. Call the murder hotline, and it's 1-888-MURDER-0. 1-888-MURDER-0. Thank you all for coming on the program.